Hey everyone, welcome to Data Movers, the digital future. I'm Candace Sipos with JSA, and I am joined by none other than Maxie Reynolds, CEO and founder of Subsea Cloud. Hey Maxie.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here, but I'm a little bit nervous. What if I do it wrong? What if no one gets my accent?
We're absolutely going to do it wrong, so it's okay.
But I'm like really happy to be here on this sort of iteration of Data Movers.
Yeah, me too. Me too. So actually, just to kind of break the ice a little bit, quick question for you. I know I always look for your LinkedIn book list that you post on LinkedIn every so often. And I mean, number one, it's amazing how much you read when I know that you're also traveling around the world constantly and, doing, casually running a business as well, and probably a few other things. So is there one interesting stat or piece of information that you've read recently in the last week or month or so, or even just like a book that you want to shout out?
I think a recent stat that I learned, which has nothing to do with this, is that cars are like stationary 95% of their lives. And that's just something, because I was recently learning about Waymo. And then a book I think that's probably relevant for this is called The Hard Thing About Hard Things. And it's by Ben Horowitz. And basically he tackles in that hiring, and he basically categorizes into two categories: soft problems, which are sort of cultural fit, motivation, like adaptability, and then the hard problems, which are typically, I think, around like defining the role, attracting the talent, having the talent, be able to actually execute on the work. I think that's probably a really good book for anyone interested in the hiring process and maybe how to change it. I think probably a good place to start.
Oh, interesting. Excellent. Yeah, that's super relevant. You've come very well prepared. So thank you. Awesome. Okay. And then, so just to set the stage a little bit on the Data Movers front for, this is our first episode. It's our inaugural test case. So thank you, number one, to any viewers who are here with us or listeners on the podcast. But if you've tuned in before, Data Movers is a long-time podcast here at JSA. I think we've done 55 episodes over the past few years. We launched in 2020. Everybody remember that year? To chat, with the most influential men and women in telecom and data centers around the world. And we've chatted with a bunch of leaders of our industry over time, and we're really grateful for that. But we are doing things a little bit differently. Maxie and I are here to switch it up a little bit on you. So usually when we do data movers, there's two hosts and then a single guest per episode, and they talk about that person's personal career and how they got into the industry and all of that. We're kind of taking a different spin on it. Yeah. So we're going to be talking about talent this time.
Yeah, I think we get to dive into more sort of critical questions that I think it's nice to learn about people, but it's also nice if it's relevant to most people listening. And so we get to dive into those critical questions that all of us are facing in the industry just now. So like, how do we attract talent? How do we retain it? But how do we get the smartest people? How do they find out about us? And, how do we continue to diversify and also just ensure that we have this pipeline of talent? So I think it'll be interesting.
Absolutely. I'm excited. So we, as you can tell already from our intro, we're very into stats. And so we're going to chat a little bit really quickly here about some stats related to this big question of, is hiring broken? We have an amazing panel we're going to get to very shortly, but just a couple quick stats to set the stage. So according to iMason's 2024 State of the Digital Infrastructure Industry report, the industry is expected to double and maybe even triple in size over the next decade. By 2028, 38 gigawatts of new data center capacity is needed just for generative AI alone. Uptime Institute found that staffing shortages are one of the top 3 challenges for data center leaders in 2024. 71% of the 1,600 plus or so respondents to that Uptime Institute survey cited it as a major issue.
Wild. Yeah, and I think another interesting thing is that whilst the skills gap didn't actually worsen between 23 and 24, according to Uptime, it didn't improve either. And so 2024 Global Data Center Survey, I think the Institute states that more effort is needed to expand labour pools and skill sets and to match the pace of capacity and growth. So that skills gap is especially prominent among operators, electrical, and also mechanical staff, which makes a lot of sense because I think those are declining industries today in terms of their own pipelines. And then there's also, I think it's Flexential's 2024 State of the Art AI infrastructure report that says skills gaps pose significant barriers to organizations achieving their AI goals. And it's like, while 91% of respondents reported experiencing a skills or staffing gap related to AI over the past year, operators are especially struggling with staffing and shortages around high density computing and infrastructure. And then just to finish off on a quick note, when we talk about digital infrastructure here, we are referring to the technical innovations in infrastructure that support basically our entire modern world now, from data centers to fiber and subsea networks and wireless to optical networking.
Yeah, it's amazing. What used to be a relatively new, young industry is now it's so critical, literally considered critical infrastructure. And, this is a huge challenge within the industry that I feel like certainly gets some airtime, but arguably not as much as it should for something that, most organizations, if not all, are struggling with in some way in our industry. So given the astronomical growth our industry is set to experience over the next few years, we, of course, need workforce solutions fast. So let's dive right into it. We've got an all-star panel lined up for you today. So we're going to do this part a little bit differently too. We're going to introduce one by one our 4 panelists. So kicking off our lineup is Lisa Stevens, HR Director at CleanArc. Hi, Lisa. So CleanArc is a company that provides first of its kind sustainability-focused data center development and operation solutions. So we have 2 questions for you and the other 3 panelists. So first of all, Lisa, what brought you into the digital infrastructure industry?
Well, I was very lucky to be recruited into the data center industry. So I was in banking and support roles and got one of those great recruiter calls that changes your life. And I was able to join a medium phase private data center startup company. And it kind of grew from there. It was so different than banking. It was really exciting. There was always something going on, and it felt like you could really align with the mission of building something. And so I found my passion with like-minded folks.
That's
from
incredible.
that perspective.
And so what one word comes to mind when you think about talent in our industry?
It's a little obvious, but I'm going to go with critical. So critical infrastructure and the criticality of being able to identify top talent that's a great fit for your organization.
Next up, we have Torrey Searles, operator. Torrey, welcome. By way of introduction, and what brought you into the digital infrastructure industry?
Well, yeah, I used to oversee operations for a recruiting firm that placed high-level military into corporate America, and this industry was just always one of the most sought after from the best of the best. So the level of talent needed and the level of performance needed was just attractive for people looking for almost that high-level performance in the military.
Did that include board level and execs all the way sort of down to mid-level, or?
Yeah, from a technical standpoint, technical operators all the way up to executives we worked with. So it was a great transition. And
what
for me.
One word comes to mind when you think about talent in our industry?
We always talk about having a globally innovative impact. You've got to have a mindset that what you do impacts things across the world, and we like people that want to do hard things well, and that kind of leads to us, retaining and attracting the talent that keeps us sustainable in this industry.
Would you say sustainable for the one word, or
Sorry, sustainable. There we go.
There we go.
Sustainable.
That. Okay, thank you. And next up, we've got Aidan Walker, who many of you have probably seen out there on the event circuit, Managing Director of Expand Group, a recruitment services provider focused on the communications, technology, and media sectors. So Aidan, same question for you. You know the drill. What's brought you into the industry?
Well, I was finding it difficult to enter the industry. So I got an opportunity to work for a recruitment firm in London. And the end customers were Telecom. So I thought, right, if I can get in that way. And that's how I got in 25 years ago. And I've stayed within the same industry for that long. I've seen some massive changes, which are just accelerating at the moment. So, yeah. Excellent.
It's got to be a good sign when people are actively trying to get into your industry, right? Like when it's like, this is what my goal is to eventually get in there somehow. And so what one word comes to mind for you when you think about talent in our industry?
I think we need to, the one word would be, for me, it's privileged. I think, we're at the beginning of something huge that's happening, and to enter it now is so important that we take it as a privilege, because I think we're going to build something for the next generation and generations to come, and that's really, really important for people to understand that they'll have a massive impact when we're gone in how the world moves and shapes. So I think that for me is really important.
I love that. That's really well said. Thank you, Aidan.
It really is. Okay, and so then just to round out our panel, we have Tanya Lulloff, Global HR Director for, is it Rehlko?
Rehlko.
Is that how you say it?
Rehlko.
Yeah, Global HR Director for Rehlko. So Tanya, you also know the drill now. What brought you into the digital infrastructure industry?
So what's interesting about Rehlko is up until earlier this year, we were part of Kohler Company. And Kohler Company is a multi-industry company. I had worked in all the different areas of the portfolio, with exception of the energy division. So I was a little intimidated. I was asked to come out and help support the goals and position it for growth. So really, it was a great decision all around. Earlier this year, we divested and became Rehlko. A little nod to our legacy with Kohler and the names, right? So fun change all around. We're positioned for growth, and it's just been really exciting.
Great. What one word then comes to mind for you when you think about just talent in our industry?
What I find is passionate people. People tend to come into this industry because they tend to be really passionate about doing something that impacts the world. I think someone else may have mentioned that. Energy resilience is part of our mission, is the core part of our mission. And what you see are people who are really interested in being a part of it, the innovation, the helping people in areas where energy resilience is not something that they can depend on, like we have in many of where we live, right? And I think that's what I tend to see in talent, being attracted to the industry and staying in the industry.
Yeah, interesting. I agree also. It's a good point.
Perfect. Okay, well, I'm excited for this next part. We're going to bring everybody back together. Yay, so many great faces. Thank you. And so for the whole panel, and we don't have this part mapped out, we're just going to go to town here. Anybody can jump in. The big question, of course, that we have to start out with is in the title of this episode. So what would you say to the question, is hiring broken in our industry? Anyone?
I guess I would say it's not a simple yes or no answer. I don't think it's specific to the industry. I think it's recruiting all around. I think what's the employers effectively, and I think you see lengthy application processes to mismatched expectations. The experience, I think, is just frustrating for everybody involved.
I agree with Tanya. I feel like it's under construction, if you will. It's always requiring maintenance, our hiring processes. We always have to be innovative. We're always trying to reach out to find new pools to attract talent from, and keeping your talent is always something that requires you to remain innovative as well. So as long as you're continuing down the path of changing with the times, I would say, or being one step ahead, I think that's how you got to go with hiring in data centers.
I don't think it's broken. I think it's creaking. And I think that we have to spend more time and put talent shortages really on the map. I was recently at an investor conference, and there was challenges around power and space and cooling, and only twice within that 2-day conference where hiring and talent addressed as an important issue. And that for me is a real challenge due to the growth that we're looking to achieve and the amount of new people that have to come into the industry. So I think it's broken, but it's creaking, and we need to do something about that.
I definitely see challenges with that total value proposition, right? Making an attractive offer that candidates are going to accept, because there are only so many data center folks today, right? We don't have enough folks coming in through the pipeline to keep feeding this. And so there is a bit of cannibalization. And I think that's really challenging for all of us. And the times when we come together in order to help enhance that pipeline is where most of the talent is coming from when we're actually bringing in trained data center professionals.
So do all of you kind of think that we're not conspicuous enough as an industry, like not enough people know about us as a backbone, as critical infrastructure? Is it that?
I would agree. I think the talent within the space clearly understands what's available, but people who are considering it or asking about it, they're like, well, what is the data center space? Like, I spend a lot of time with candidates with transferable skills trying to figure out how they could fit and why they would want to join it.
Yeah. I see the same when I'm hiring. I think we are viewed, for those that know us, I think, and I would ask if you agree, that we are viewed as tech's less glamorous cousin. I see that across. We're very staid. That's our reputation. And do you battle that?
I feel like you battle anyone having awareness of data center. Until recently, there were no headlines talking about data center. No one understands the infrastructure behind the phone that we're holding all day long. And so when people hear data center, frequently they think about, oh, it's data. We're working with numbers. Are you inside the server? Are you outside the server? So I think programs like STEM and STEAM are helping us build momentum of bringing more awareness to what data center is, but there's a huge amount of marketing that would be needed for us to be more impactful.
Yeah.
Anyone else on that? All right. I think we'll move on to another question for you. So could you talk about the one strategy that you've implemented to boost your hiring practices that's hopefully worked?
I know we've worked more with the community colleges and work-based learning programs and internships to structure our training almost like college, so they're going through classes and incorporating that with hands-on, is able to attract more of the talent level that see us as just that input, the data input that kind of Lisa talked about. They're seeing the other aspects of the data center. They're understanding that there's some engineering to this. There's power to this. There's some hands-on aspects to this that are attracting what would normally be blue-collar level workers that we wouldn't get. But we're partnering that with the classroom setting, and it's doing a lot for bringing in the level of talent from a entry-level high school community college.
Yeah, I would say, one strategy that's working for us, we're essentially a new company. We're a 100-plus-year-old new company as Rehlko, is that we're trying to use our own associates to tell our story, having them use their authentic voice. Marketing has its place, but at the end of the day, it's about authenticity and how can we get people attracted to work with people who are like them, right? That's really what we want. We want like-minded people who can come in and add value and work as a team. And using our associates' own testimonials, if you will, seem to be a really great way to do that.
I've had success with testimonials as well. I feel like it really allows you to connect with people, and it also frequently comes through in more of like a bite-sized social media approach, right, which is more of where like attention spans are at, so that can be really effective. And then also being really flexible with what your core capabilities and skills are for the right candidate, and then being willing to be a teaching organization, right? Most of that talent isn't like plug and play isn't out there, so you need to find what your core competencies are that you can then build on and, you know, make data center people.
I like that.
Perfect. I love this. For some reason, my brain keeps picking up on all the C's. It started when you were talking about the industry being under construction, and creaking, and and so, and core competencies you were just talking about, Lisa. So yeah, really good points here. Anybody want to talk about the roles that have been hardest to fill recently?
So for myself and CleanArc, I think it's in the energy space, right? Energy, power, transmission, these things. A few years back, it was pretty rare to have those kind of resources built into your org design, depending on the size of the company. And so I'm seeing a lot of move in the talent space in that field.
Yeah, we don't have a particular department, but it's been the leadership roles across the board. You know, we feel like we can teach the talent point. I mean, the technical point. You know, we can test and we can have classes, but in this space where it's ever dynamic and always changing, you know, finding leaders with the emotional intelligence to lead through that and build those teams that's been pretty challenging for us. And then we have leaders that can do that. So also, you know, kind of recruiting and keeping your own at the same
I think everyone on this panel today has described the soft problems rather than the hard. Like it's not the skills per se; those can be taught. Like you can sort of learn to drive the car, but you really just need to read the road. That's actually kind of what keeps you safe. I don't know if that analogy carries fully, but so you're sort of describing that. It's more about the culture, how we're viewed. And I think, was it Torrey? Did you say privileged earlier?
That was Aidan, which I love. I'm stealing that, Aidan, definitely.
You being privileged to be talented here, I think, is probably something we should like campaign to be adopted by the people who work in this industry.
I would say what we have found, and this is really coming out of the pandemic, is customer facing people who, you know, the talent that wants to be on site on a regular basis, and whether it's on site at a customer or on site at our manufacturing locations, that is the hardest area to overcome. You know, to your point on skills gaps, we can teach pretty much anybody who wants to be taught anything, right? But we can't do is change where jobs get done. They get done at a customer site, they get done in manufacturing locations. So the combination of work from home and hybrid and flexibility is really become a one size fits none. And so you really have to work with the individual, work with the business to figure out what we can do to make it work and make the job attractive and make the talent want to come join.
Okay, so I think now we move into our series of lightning round questions for the group. Lisa, we'll start with you. What's your top piece of career advice for high schoolers and college students?
It's going to be curiosity. So I think finding, you're going to have a great career in data center, and it will be its best for you if you know what it is that aligns best with the person that you are. So coming into a company that's willing to give you exposure to a lot of parts of the business so you can find the thing that really gets you jazzed every morning when you wake up.
Perfect. Aidan?
Yeah, I think passion, follow your passion, find something that you're interested in, and that will help drive you forward, because, you know, it's a tough market. You know, there's lots of days when it will, you know, you'll be stretched and pushed. And I think if you're passionate about something, you know, that will help. So it's really about.
Okay. Excellent. Tanya?
For high school students, I would say look at your youth apprenticeship programs. Now that looks different around the world, but whether it's job shadowing or a formalized apprenticeship program, try those out. It is a great way to meet people, see people who have had careers in various spaces, and will help you determine where you want to invest your time, right? For college, similar, complete an internship or a co-op. That is invaluable to you as a student, a learner, a future professional, to start networking and learning how to do that, and getting a glimpse of what it's like to work in various industries or various companies.
And when you say networking, you mean socially?
I think when you're a co-op or intern, it gives you an opportunity to be more social with professionals you wouldn't otherwise have a connection with or come and meet with them. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And then Torrey, same question.
Yes, I share Lisa. So now I'm gonna have to go with just seek greatness, but remain situationally aware while you do it in this business. Just because there's so much you can do, and there's so many different roles that you can branch out to. But if you put blinders on, you may lose what you're best at here. So just be situationally aware of what's around you and continue to strive, because there's so much support here to help you succeed.
Lisa, we'll start with you again. What personality trait do you look for most in candidates?
Well, I'm looking for a passion for sustainability. So we've talked a couple times on this podcast about the legacy that we're leaving behind. And so trying to do it in the right way so that it is sustainable moving forward and we're limiting our impact. That's how we make a difference.
Okay, great. Aidan, same.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's passion, openness, to learn, and really someone who will have a work hard ethic, because that's for me, but it's really around, the values that the individual has, are run through them and are matched to the organization, because that is for me the most important thing.
Yeah. Okay. So a set of personality traits, essentially, they're positive. Excellent. Yeah. Tanya, same question.
So I'm going to steal Lisa's word from the last question. Being curious. I like people who want to try new things, who are okay with failing fast, right? Mm-hmm. They're curious about the company. They're asking lots of great questions. They always want to know more, right? Those are the kind of natural traits that I tend to gravitate to in a good candidate.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. Torrey, same question.
Yeah, I'm looking for resiliency. Have you had a pattern to just be resilient through the hard times and the hard stuff? And if you're able to do that and just learn from failure, we'll take that all day.
Learning from failure, and also knowing that failure is an option and sort of accepting that, I think, is important. Okay, this question, I think, is going to be hard to answer succinctly. So maybe instead of giving your reasons why, just give me the skill. So if you could, and Lisa, we'll start with you. If you could instantly master a new business skill, what would it be?
Really effective ChatGPT prompts would be a huge value add in my life.
Absolutely. Me too.
Use the program to make better prompts, to use the program better.
Yes. Perfect. Aidan?
I think it's emotional intelligence.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I mean, I think a recent survey that came out, 90% of individuals that are achieving high achievers had a very high level of emotional intelligence, which is really important in a modern workplace, I think.
And the modern world, I think we could all do with a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Tanya, same question.
I thought about this, and ChatGPT was one of my first options, but I really landed on master at data analytics. Ooh. I would love to be overnight being able to connect the dots, and I'm sort of a closet metric nerd, so I like that anyway, but I would love to be the master at it.
I have a book for you. I will send it to you offline.
Okay, it sounds good.
Everyone suffers. Torrey, same question.
Yeah, well, A little off topic, I'm going to tell you, coaching softball with teenagers will help you learn ChatGPT very, very well. They've got it mastered at their age. But I'm going to go with communication in all facets, just verbal, nonverbal, and written communication. If I could master that and get my point across more succinctly, I would love it.
All good answers. And I never thought of the Chat GPT one. That's epic. I'll steal that. Okay, Lisa, we'll start with you. In 1 to 2 words, how would you describe the digital infrastructure industry? I'll even give you 3 words.
I'm going to take all 3. So I'm going to say growing, join us.
I love it. Aidan?
I think I spoke about this earlier, but for me, it's a privilege to be part of driving the future of next generation. So pick any one of those you want. Yeah.
Okay, fine. Tanya?
So I choose constantly evolving.
Ooh.
So for people who love change and get bored easily, like me, this is a great industry to be in because it's constantly evolving.
Yes, agreed. Torrey, 2 to 3 words.
2 to 3 words. Dynamic with global impact.
So you have to charge for the extra, but
yeah. Brilliant. Yeah, you're totally right. I do not disagree.
That's amazing. I loved that. I love that lightning round. Thank you so much.
Not at all.
And thank you to all 4 of you for being here. This has really been special to hear, directly from heads of HR at various companies within our industry, Expand Group, folks who are really out there on the front lines looking for talent, hiring talent, working with their teams internally to hire and retain. So thank you so much for joining us. And if to our audiences out there, if you enjoyed our program today, please be sure to check out jsa.net/JSATV and our YouTube channel, Jamie Scotto TV on YouTube. And you can find Maxie and I on LinkedIn, of course.
Yeah. And thank you to everyone for joining, for sure, and definitely to this panel for sort of easing us in. But to the audience, I hope that we've convinced you to hang out with us for the rest of the series, and you can catch us for episode 2, all about digital infrastructure and training programs. And until then, happy networking.